Hi everybody, you're tuned into My Dad Says Audio. If you've been here before, welcome back. If you're new here, welcome. Today I'll be doing a brief discussion on the topic of record weights and record clamps. The differences, when it's appropriate to use them, when it's not, what difference do they make sonically and why? And I'll just tell you, I've always been a big fan of weights and clamps. Ever since maybe 20 something odd years ago, when I first saw this bad boy, or this is a clone, but this design on a Michel Jaredek, and I thought, wow, that looks super cool. But what is the difference between weights and clamps, and in what circumstances would you use a clamp, and what circumstance would you use a weight, and why? All right, I'll start with clamps first. This clamp is, as I said, it's a knockoff of a Michel. It's a very simple product. It's got a metal cross-hatched little screw, and I think it's Delrin, machine Delrin, and it doesn't weigh very much at all, which is great because I'm using it on a Thorens TD160, which is a suspended deck, meaning it floats on springs, exactly the same, or very similar to a Linn LP12, and the Acoustic Research, and also what was it called? I can't remember. Another turntable, like the total. I'll remember it in 10 seconds. But yeah, it works really well on this because on suspended decks, this only weighs. I don't know the exact way, but it's very light, and it doesn't affect the suspension because you don't want to add a heavy weight and then it doesn't float properly. That's undesirable. So in this circumstance, I would suggest using a clamp. Or even if you've got an unsuspended deck, and you can do this very cheaply, if you've got an unsuspended deck and you're curious about weights or clamps and will they work in your system and do they have benefits, then something like this is good because it's not going to strain your motor. It barely weighs any more than a record, 180 gram record. So in that kind of circumstance, I'd recommend it, and just to see how what you think. And if you don't like it, you can sell it and get some money back and forget about it, and then you're done with clamps. You've got a opinion based on real world experience. But yeah, so what does it do? It flattens the record. It gives the record more intimate contact with the platter. And this platter surface, this is acrylic. So it's a bit slippery, and you can kind of slip records on it. If you just put a record on there and just do that, move it around, you can actually feel it slipping. So this stops any slippage. It also damps a bit of vibration. If you've got air between the record and the platter surface, and you got playing music, all the air in the room is excited. It's all vibrating, creating acoustic energy, and that's going to affect the tracking. Also, if you flatten a record, it makes it easier for the stylist to track because it's not tracking these hills, these rises and falls in the record. So for this sort of circumstance, I would recommend a clamp. Now, what about weights? This is where it really gets dicey. I used to go on forums and talk to people, but people they'd generally be of one opinion or the other, and you couldn't really talk them around. And this is like an extreme example. I'll see if you can, I don't know if you can read it. TT heavyweight, 1420 grams, 1.42 kilos. That's a heavy weight. Now, this isn't the rock that my Townsend Elite Rock Mark II is unsuspended. It has 3 Sorbothane balls in metal cups, and it sits on a homemade seismic sink. So it's kind of, but yeah, it's unsuspended, so you don't have to worry about adding weight and that affecting the suspension. and it does most of the same things that a clamp does. But what it does that I really like, it adds inertia to the rotating platter. And if you've got a belt drive, if you've got a lightweight platter, it doesn't always sound the best, because you need that drive, that inertia, to stop it when the stylus is in the groove, dragging, basically creating a braking effect. You don't want you don't want it to slow and speed up, or kind of slow and then back to speed. Wow and flutter are undesirable, and it helps. And people go, oh, but you're adding 1.42 kilos mass. That's so much. If what I realized, I was looking at the Thorens Prestige, I think it was, and the bearing is no bigger. It's no bigger than the Thorens 160 bearing, but the platter's like that thick of solid metal. So I've been using this for over a decade. The bearing is fine. The turntable works perfectly, and I've been using it with this clamp for over a decade. So, this weight for over a decade, and it's perfectly fine. So, so that's the thing it does that I like. It adds rotating mass, but also that's also important even if you've got a direct drive. Direct drives kind of appreciate a bit of rotating mass, a bit of inertia to maintain pitch stability. So, and on that subject, I'll see if we can see it hidden in the dungeon, is my Technics SP10 Mark II with a TT Weights copper mat, and I'll grab it. The Nagoika crystal weight. Now, I originally bought the crystal mat for my Technics because my dad bought a Technics, so I thought, oh, I want a Technics. So I actually swapped. I'm not even sure if I got a good deal or if I got ripped off. I swapped a Koetsu Rosewood that needed a new diamond, a new stylus for this, and I got a Technics SP10. And so my dad bought the Nagoika crystal mat. I bought the crystal mat, but then I got the crystal clamp. He didn't get it. He moved over to the copper mat, so of course I bought a copper mat. So my dad and I kind of like, if you ever see mothers and daughters and they wear the same outfit, we're like that, but with stereo gear. So we're a bit batty. I'll just put that back. But yeah, that's pretty much all I've got to say on the subject. A lot of people hate clamps and weights. They say, oh, they're no good, blah, blah, blah. And would there be a circumstance where I wouldn't use it? And I thought about it, and there'd only be one circumstance that I wouldn't use a weight or a clamp, and that would be if I had a really nice Lynn Sondek LP12 with a felt mat. I think that I would just stick to all the proprietary Lynn stuff, and I just wouldn't, even though I don't like felt mats because they slip. They're compliant, which is bad. They're compliant in the vertical plane, meaning once you put pressure on them, they compress. So then the needle drops a little bit and mistracks. That is undesirable. But I muck around with this. I muck around with this. I wouldn't muck around with the SL10, which, by the way, comes with a built-in clamp that you can't really see. Sorry. I'll try moving the light. And then, can we see it now? Yeah, slightly. Anyway, man, that light is hot. It is hot. Yeah. So, yeah, that would be the only circumstance that I wouldn't use a weight, is if I had a nice LP12 Lynn Sondek. I'd just keep it as original. But yeah, all right, everyone. Hope you enjoyed the video. If you like this kind of content, please consider liking, commenting, subscribing, and sharing. All right, everybody. Until next time, have a good one. Bye.